Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This time we're going to be looking at a failed motorway project which never got off the ground, has sort of been built in some sort of fashion. You'll get the idea once we delve into this story more. However, this was the M650, which was supposed to extend from the end of the M65 at Colne, and it would either connect up with the M606 at Bradford, going through Bradford, Shipley, Keighley, Bingley, Steeton and Silsden and over the tops to Colne. It was also then proposed as late as 2017 to link up to the A1M just above Knaresborough, or also connect up to the M1 at Garforth. The picture on the screen will sort of make that easy to understand, hopefully. So, onto the story of the Ayr Valley Trunk Road stroke failed M650 project. The story starts in October 1970 when a route for a new 6-lane motorway, the M650 through the Ayr Valley, was given planning permission protection under the Town and Country Planning Act of 1968. The motorway was planned to provide a continuous link from Cumbria to the M1. As a result, the Ayr Valley Preservation Society was formed in opposition and 4,980 official objections were submitted. In November 1971, Michael Heseltine, Under Secretary of State at the Transport of the Environment, promised to look at alternatives in the face of strong local objections. In October 1972, the West Yorkshire County Council formally supports the M650 route. However, in December 1974, the M650 motorway idea was scrapped and revised proposals were published providing for a new dual 2-lane trunk road between Baildon and Kildwick. In November 1975, attempts to hold a public inquiry into the Airedale Trunk Road plans are subjected to an organised campaign of disruption, with 2,288 formal objections being submitted. The inquiry was eventually abandoned in February 1976. In May 1978, the Secretary of State meets councillors from the County Council and Bradford Council, and 2 months later it was announced that fresh proposals would be published following an inquiry. In February 1979, the Bradford Council formally resolves to fully support the construction of a trunk road in the Ayr, not up in the Ayr but the Ayr Valley. It was argued that a continuous high-standard route through the Ayr Valley is the most effective way to link traffic from the Ayr and Wharfe valleys with an improved canal road and city ring road in Bradford, and ultimately with the motorway network linking it to the M606. From January 1980 to October 1980, a new public inquiry was held. The report of the inspector, Mr Raymond Chance QC, dated the 3rd of September 1981, was published in May 1982. The inspector's report accepted the Department of Transport's case that the existing road, being the A650 A629, was incapable of sustaining the expected growth in traffic. In relation to the East of Bingley plans, the inspector fiercely rejected the Department of Transport's proposals. He described the proposed interchange at Dowley Gap, if I pronounced that right, as a hideous eyesore. He also deprecated the loss of amenity and environmental damage at Saltaire and Roberts Park as too great for the communities to bear. The inspector concluded that a continuous route from Kildwick to Bingley was all he could recommend. He then promulgated a variation to the Department of Transport's proposal by saying the Airedale route should terminate at Cottonley Bar. In May 1982, the inspector's recommendations were accepted by the Secretaries of State for Transport and for the Environment. The link from Bingley to Baildon was dropped, but both Bradford Council and West Yorkshire County Council rejected the recommendations. At every subsequent side roads inquiry, the opportunity was taken to express the view that no part of the Airedale route should be built before a line has been agreed east of Bingley. In July 1982, Bradford Council and the County Council agreed to develop their own proposals on the Airedale route, options east of Cottonley Bar, and they consider 4 options. 1. Upgrading the existing A650 to a dual 2-lane all-purpose road. 2. Build a dual 2-lane all-purpose road on the existing A650/A657. 3. To construct a Shipley Southern bypass. Or 4. Construct a route following the British Rail Airedale line. They favoured the last option, a reworking of the Valley Bottom route so proudly rejected by the 1980 Chance public inquiry. In January 1983, compulsory purchase orders for properties in Bingley were issued, and in May 1984 the Department of Transport publishes options for routes east of Bingley. It presents 3 routes for consideration: a route to Cottonley Bar, a route through Roberts Park, slightly to the south of the line rejected by the 1980 public inquiry, known as the Coach Road route, and a route following the BR Airedale line known as the Railway route. Public outrage at the continued attempts to push the rejected Valley Bottom route were expressed at mass meetings organised by the Aire Valley Preservation Society, the Saltaire Village Society and the newly formed Coach Roads Residents Association. Not going very well, this, is it? In June 1984, the former inquiry inspector, Raymond Chance, publicly accuses the Department of Transport of lying about its proposals for a link to Cottonley. This is a blatant untruth which must be known by the authorities and can be no other than a barefaced deception of the public. In October 1984, Bradford Council and West Yorkshire County Council agreed to push for the modified Coach Road route between Bingley and Baildon and proposed the Shipley Eastern bypass. However, in April 1985, the Secretary of State for Transport reiterated a decision to terminate the Airedale route at Cottonley Bar. And 3 years later, in 1988, sections 1 and 2 of the Airedale route were finally open to traffic between Kildwick and Cross Flats. In February 1990, another public inquiry on compulsory purchase orders for the Bingley Relief Road opens at Bankfield Hotel. Bradford Council decides to oppose the Relief Road unless Section 4, Valley Bottom route to Baildon, is approved also. The council report states that the building the Relief Road only will bring unacceptable traffic pressures on Saltaire, Shipley and North Bradford until such time as Section 4 is implemented. At the same time, Bradford Council also rejects the suggested Shipley Tunnel, which was known as the Shunnell option. In March 1992, a £20 million Shipley Eastern bypass was approved by the government, and tenders were invited for a geological survey to see if a tunnel underneath Shipley is feasible. This greatly angers locals. At the same time, work in Bingley started to move the Leeds and Liverpool Canal. The Bingley Environmental Transport Association, also known as BETTER, is formed to oppose the proposed Bingley bypass and soon has 300 members. In November 1993, shocking secret plans for a new cross-Pennine motorway along the Aire Valley are revealed by BBC Look North. The plans have been prepared by Bradford Council along with Leeds City Council and county councils in North Yorkshire and Lancashire. Bradford Councillor Latif Dar confirms that council officers have been engaged in secret negotiations with the Department of Transport, and one plan is to link the M65 to the M62 via the M606 via Kildwick and the Aire Valley. In April 1994, the Bingley Relief Road is relegated to Priority 2, and in November Bradford Council begins a concerted campaign for the Bingley Relief Road to be built, joining forces with businesses and civic groups including the Freight Transport Association, the Yorkshire Roads Group, the local Chambers of Trade and Commerce, the Better Bingley Campaign, Bradford Breakthrough, Bradford Civic Trust, Keighley Business Forum, Keighley Civic Society and Saltaire Village Society. However, despite all of this, in December 1994, the Relief Road scheme was dropped from the government's road building programme for 1995, so that were a waste of time there. In January 1995, the Telegraph and Argus step up their campaign to have Section 3 built. A first front page open letter from editor Perry Austin Clark is repeated in June under the title Set Us Free. And don't worry folks, I will set you free from this video as soon as I've nearly finished. In November 1995, the Shipley Eastern Bypass scheme is downgraded by the government to a long-term programme, and in December of the same year, the government announced the Bingley section is to go ahead through private finance, and as a result, the Design, Build, Finance and Operate scheme is introduced. Private companies would finance the road and be paid by a system of shallow tolls over the next 30 years. They are to be paid according to how much traffic they can generate. However, the shunnel option for Shipley is dropped. In November 1996, the government announces a short list of preferred bidders for the scheme. They are Connect, Roadlink, Trafalgar House, Autostral and Autolink. It was subsequently revealed that builders Taywood Homes, who are planning to build a massive housing estate in East Morton, are linked to Autolink via parent company Taylor Woodrow. In November 1996, the Shipley Eastern Bypass scheme is one of 110 schemes that the government drops from the Trunk Roads programme. And in December, the Better Bingley campaign, which is fighting for the road to be built, conducts a local survey on opinions. 96% say they don't believe the proposed relief road will solve their problems, so that is the end of that. In June 1997, the new Labour government announces its new transport strategy. Many road schemes are dropped altogether. However, the Bingley Relief Road is one of 12 put under fast-track review. The Telegraph and Argus editor calls for the Ayr Valley Trunk Road to be completed in its entirety, and in June 1997, the Bingley Relief Road review is extended to March 1998, and finally, in June 1998, after all of this pigging around, the government gives a go-ahead for the relief road construction at an additional cost of £59 million. So yeah, we're a long one, folks, but that is the end of that. I do hope you have managed to stay awake for the video and also enjoy the video as well. If you have, please give it a like, give it a share, and also consider subscribing to this channel should you so wish, and check out my other videos. So until the next video, thank you so much for your support, continued support, and for staying awake for this video. Goodbye for now, folks.